Welcome to Chaotic Harmony. I am your one and only host, Angela Schultz. I have officially come to the realization that I am getting old. For my own sake and well-being, I'll try to stick with middle-aged. I would love to sit here and tell all of you that my natural white highlights that seem to be popping up out of nowhere help me with my realization, but that's not it. Not even the sound of my popping and cracking joints do the trick. No, I realized I was middle-aged the day I opened my mouth and my mother came out. You know the old, when I was your age. Now, in my opinion, if you only say something close to that once, well, then that doesn't really count. You're still young. But honey, I'm way past that point. I seem to quote things I've heard from my mother when I grew up on the daily. This entire episode was actually inspired by something our youngest child said to me as a response to my middle-aged, when I was your age. Ugh. Thank you, Colton. About a year ago-ish, there was a huge storm expected to pass in our area. Our cell phones were going off constantly with tornado warnings. The town's sirens were blasting. And if you watched the TV, the weatherman was on there babbling on and on with all of his fancy words and hand gestures. Now, I get major anxiety when it comes to things like this, and I don't understand what the hell all those fancy words the weatherman's saying mean anyway. And I'm not sure if it's me or not, but the way the news presents all of that, it seems to kind of come off a bit dramatic, don't you think? So instead of listening to all of those professionals that get paid to watch the weather radar and alert the community when danger is on the way, I just sit back, put my legs up, and listen to my husband. If you're married long enough, you know it's best to sometimes just listen. I don't do that often, but I try. I was freaking out this whole time due to the sirens going off near our house and the phone's doing the same damn thing. Once we ended up getting enough alerts, though, my husband, looked outside and things got taken a little bit more seriously around our house. The sky was all different shades of orange. And honestly, I know it was like a scary situation and all, but it was beautiful. Like, it was a beautiful sky, but also terrifying. The clouds looked like they were ready to drop a tornado at any moment. And the wind was out of control. I wasn't listening to the weatherman, so I couldn't tell you exactly how fast the wind was blowing, but I can tell you it was strong enough to make you feel like you were in the damn Twister 2 movie. My anxiety started kicking in as soon as my husband opened our front door, and the damn thing just about took him with it. He didn't care, though. He stood there commentating about current events that are happening. Now, I had a hard time trying to come up with how I was going to explain exactly how my husband looked and was doing all this, and this is the best way I could describe it. He was standing there saying all of this, and now imagine any man looking in the fridge for the ketchup bottle that you said is behind the mustard. And instead of getting down low and kind of looking around, your husband just stands there holding the door open and just starts yelling out what he sees right in front of him. It's mayonnaise, butter, milk. That's kind of how my husband was. He was just so calm about it. All while there was sirens and alerts going off, and my husband was just standing in the doorway, almost detached from what was going on, and started yelling out to the rest of us, The ones that are all in there shitting our pants. The dude's shingles are flying everywhere. Whoa! The basketball hoop from down the road, hon? It's moving our way. Babe, shit is flying everywhere. It's fucking crazy out here. Thanks there, bud. I was already shitting myself. Why not help me out more while you keep telling me all this shit? And then, everyone take cover in the tubs. He went from chill to that comatose stage I was talking about to a pure panic in a split second. The children that were home, my son Matthew and our son Colton, went straight to their bathtub, and I quickly got into our master bathtub. My tub very quickly turned into what I shall call anxiety attack headquarters. I was worried about the kids that were in the other bathroom. They were down the hall. They couldn't hear me. It was crazy outside. What if the freaking trailer splits in half? I was worried about all of our other children too. The ones that didn't live with us, the ones that were at friends, and let's not forget our grandbabies. What if our grandbabies were scared? That would not be good at all, and that would make me sad, even more sad. I ended up getting myself so worked up, but then all of a sudden I realized my husband isn't in the house yet. He made us go for cover, but he's still out there. He's sitting there watching all the chaos, and he's still telling us what is going on. Now, number one, we can't hear him. Number two, he pays our bills. Number three, he fixes things around here that I can't and don't want to fix. Number four, he brings me places. He needed to get his ass inside. I didn't want to lose any of that. Let's not forget that I also do love him too. Just saying. All of that stress made my whole body shake and shiver. I was crying. I was doing all, you name it, I was doing it. I tried yelling to my husband, but let's be straight up here. He couldn't hear me. He can't even hear me on a good day when the weather is perfect and when it's silent. I still tried to yell though, till I heard my bearded man yell out something like, "Oh shit!" That man slammed the door, ran into our room, and somehow managed to get himself under our bed in what seemed like a second. Now, if my husband, the very man that loves to stand in the middle of an open field while there's a storm to hopefully see the tornado, if he's under the bed, taking cover, that means shit got real. I remember laying in our tub, covering myself with towels, and questioning our idea as a couple of buying our trailer house. Now, living in a trailer house isn't as bad as some make it out to be. It really isn't. They lower your expectations, actually, so it's kind of great. All until you're in tornado zone. It's not a great feeling. The whole idea of knowing our trailer could up and RUNNOFT. I got that from a movie. I know, I love it. Sorry. After some time passed, and Pappy, I mean my husband, I keep messing his name up because I call him all kinds of things all the time around our house and in public, so he can get over it. It's my podcast. But anyway, at this point, my cute little Pappy was under our bed, yelling to me to calm down and breathe. I guess at that point, my panting from my anxiety attack was loud enough for him to hear. My mind at that time was everywhere but in my damn head. That's normal though. This all happened so fast. I couldn't give you an exact time because I really wasn't paying attention to anything. But I'll guess and say my husband was under our bed for no more than 4 or 5 minutes. Might be less. Pretty sure. Who the hell knows? I just know that the wind had died down just enough for my little Yeti to crawl out from under our bed and check the current status of the storm. The kids and I waited very impatiently in the tubs for him to give us the all clear. Once we were good to go, we got our asses out of the bathtub and like normal people went outside to check out our neighborhood. Well, it's more like to see if we were still in the same neighborhood. And, surprisingly, it looked exactly like one would expect it to look like after a storm like that. Now, it was confirmed that there was a tornado near us, But it was as if Mother Nature unleashed a few toddlers that were left unsupervised for just a couple minutes. Just enough. And let them fuck around and reorganize everything they saw or touched. Then up and fucked off, leaving all the chaos for the adults to clean up and pay for. I'm going into my middle-age years, so I've had my fair share of storms and experiences of all that. And same goes for my husband. Now, he is older than me, so he has probably experienced more than I have as far as storms, but who knows? I'm not asking him for exact details. Our youngest child was around 11 years old at that time. He didn't live through a lot of anything, really. Having no power due to a storm would be one of those life experiences our little Colton only experienced a few times. However, it happened more or less when he was already sleeping, so he never really experienced the whole no power. We were powerless, and we weren't the only ones. Our little town that is located literally in the middle of bumfuck Egypt was completely powerless, and many other towns were facing the same problems near us. We didn't know how long we were going to be without power, so what do? Let's make the most of it. As a mother, in this world we live in now, it's hard to get quality time with my children because technology seems to get in the way of that. So I saw this being unplugged thing as a small bonus. For our youngest, Colton, one night without power was going to be okay, I guess, in his words. I got all excited. I was telling him we could play games. We had flashlights. I did this when I was little. It would be so cool. All of his responses were like, yeah, I guess I can handle it for a bit. Well, good to hear there, bud. My better half helped us find some flashlights and got his butt to bed because he had work in the morning. I stayed up with my two children, Matthew and Colton, and laughed my ass off the entire night. That night, honestly, has to be on the top 10 favorite nights to this day. My two kids that were home are my spectrum babies. They have autism. Both of them are in two completely different worlds, and they fight like cats and dogs all the goddamn time. One of them was 19, one of them was 11, and they fought both like they were 10, maybe 5. On this powerless night, they could have chosen to lay in bed and do nothing and stay away from each other. But they decided to hang out and try to play some games, which I find pretty awesome. I'm going to use tried, though, very loosely here. Because they really didn't try. Our youngest, Colton, has only played a few of the games we have because he learned how to make games online when he was very little, so board games were not his thing. Matthew was 19 at the time, and he had only played certain games we had because he either didn't understand the games or didn't have the patience to learn how to, or to even sit still to play. With all of that being said, this is seriously still one of my favorite nights, and I will forever hold on to the beauty of having no power that night with my two very opposite autistic little children. One night with no power ended up slowly turning into several days. The power company had many places and things to repair, and it was out of our hands. That's when the complaining started. Oh, it was more like whining. Our Colton was distraught over the idea of not having anything to do. And for a second there, I was actually speechless. I really was, believe it or not. I actually had my mouth shut for a second there. He had tears flooding down his face. Like, he was just distraught. My husband and I were over here trying to figure out how we were going to keep the food from spoiling, how we were going to cook, how we were going to charge his phone for work because he used it as an alarm clock. And our son is worried about having no Wi-Fi. I became extremely frustrated. We tried explaining to him that it's not in our hands, but that's not okay though. My old ass looked at him and said, "When I was your age." And I didn't even get to finish my sentence because Colton threw a little tantrum and stomped up our deck, saying, "Sorry I didn't grow up like you." And then made his way to our front door, slammed it, and that was it. I stared at that door that he had just slammed, and I didn't know whether to go in there and yell at him or be ashamed that he couldn't survive life without the internet. He made me realize that I wish he did grow up like me. It was sad. I can get in my head a lot about my upbringing for so many reasons, and I won't even go there. There's so many more episodes for that. But now that I'm not only a mother, but I'm also more grown, middle-aged, I can understand the struggle my parents went through. I think because of how I was brought up, I'm able to actually stop and appreciate the little things or the moments that happen. I'm not saying my whole childhood was terrible, but if I compare it to our children's lives, I would have to admit that our children are so fucking entitled. And I don't like admitting that because I know that I played a part in that. When I grew up, my mother would use envelopes. Mostly old mail, not fresh ones, because then you're, wasting it. And she would write down a list of chores that would need to be done that day. If those chores weren't done when she came home from work, we were fucked. It was best for us to just get it done. I didn't like seeing my mother mad, so the chores were done and no questions were asked. Now, if I ask my kids to do a chore, one singular chore, I am extremely lucky if they get up and do it within the day. I have caught myself bargaining with them and even begging. "I will buy you a Monster if you bring the garbage out." Seriously? You live here rent-free. This is pathetic, but it's true. I beg my kids for one chore, and I was raised to just do as I'm told. And if that envelope had 10 things on there, you just fucking did it. And I beg for one chore and even try to buy them shit for it. To save money, I grew up having to carry a heavy-ass basket full of wet clothes to the clothesline and then hang them to dry. Once they are dry, I was right back at it, at that line, taking them off. Now, if you hang them wrong, the pins made a weird kind of indent in your clothes, mainly in the shirts. And that shit's embarrassing. So there was no way of half-assing anything. I learned to always put the underwear on the line that didn't face the road also, because that shit's even more embarrassing. I absolutely hated the whole process. I dreaded the time where my mother was like, it is now time that we use the clothesline. I was like, fuck. No. We live in Wisconsin, just winter all the time. Stiff jeans that could literally stand up sucked. If you positioned them correctly, they could just sit there. Our shirts looked like someone pinched us on each shoulder. Underwear? Yeah. They looked at us like they wanted to run away. And worst of all, the towels that turned into sandpaper as soon as you went to dry off after a shower. Now, if I look at it on a positive note, those towels were probably helping get rid of dead skin. That's how bad and rough they were. Although I absolutely hated all of this, did my young child opinion matter to my parents at all? Did my parents beg me or bargain with me on any of this? Hell no! If I wanted clean clothes for school and any other place, then that's how it was done. I had to do it. Then there is my household. Yeah. I wash the clothes, hang them whatever way they need to be hung, fold whatever needs to be folded, and put away the basics, the kitchen towels, washcloths, bath cloths, and so on. I do all of this mainly because I'm mom, but also my OCD can't handle the towels being folded wrong and all of that. All that I ask of our children is to simply take the clothes that I sorted out for you and put them away. I started all off with this. Hey, your clothes are done. Can you please put them away? They're right here. Those clothes that I washed, dried, folded, hung, and organized will sit there and they will collect dust. No joke. My kids don't seem to care at all. I then have to make several more attempts for them to collect their very nicely folded and cleaned clothes. Though these little fuckers will wait till they have gotten reminded like several times, till they get me to the boiling point, to where I'm starting to make threats, and it's not even cool. To finally I get up and I put their stuff away, and they're like making it feel like I ruined their show just by getting up and picking up all their shit. They're like, Mom, I could have put it away. And they'll like quickly get up and it's like, get over yourself. They'll even make comments to me. Jeez, it's not even a big deal, Mom. God, I feel like you're nagging. Stop nagging. Are you kidding me? These clothes have been sitting here. I did all of it for you. All you had to do is get up and put them away. But you got me to the point where I'm pissed off and I'm doing it myself. But you know what? Guess what, world? I ain't that cool, because when I get to that boiling point and I have to put it in their rooms, I don't nicely put it in there. I don't even care if my OCD is like, whatever. I throw it in their rooms because I ain't going to look at their rooms. So whatever. When I was their age, I would have never thought about saying anything like that to them or to my parents, my grandparents, nobody. You do not talk to them like that. So I don't know how this world is allowing their kids to talk to them like that. And I don't know why I'm allowing my kids to talk to me like that. Anyways, grocery shopping with my mother was like this. Stay in the car. I only need a few things. Or, I'll be 2 minutes. Wait in here. I'm not sure how, but it felt like a few seconds went by and our mother would be walking out of the grocery store with 2 full carts and a huge smile. Told you it wouldn't be long. So what I'm getting at here is grocery shopping with my mother was more like sitting in the car, counting people as they go inside and out, and not having a say in what she bought, and not being able to ask or beg for anything. Now that I'm a mother, I understand exactly why my mom shopped that way. I get told what the kids will and will not eat. They make their opinions very clear. I don't remember ever asking for them, but they give them to me anyways. They give me their request. I never had a say when I was a youngin'. Why did I allow my kids to think they have an opinion, and why do I actually care? Like, I really do care. Why? I wasn't raised like that. I think my parents cared, but at the same time, they didn't show it. So why am I showing that I care? And while I'm on the topic of food, just the other day, my little husband went to the store for our weekend breakfast ritual and tells me, "Your chocolate milk is in the fridge, hiding behind the tub of butter." Are you kidding? We actually, in our house, I don't know if anybody else does, but we have to hide certain food from our kids. Why? Back in the day, my parents loaded the refrigerator with soda. My dad's favorite cookies were in the cupboard. We had fresh cheese curds and so on. And guess what? My siblings and I saw it all, wanted it all, couldn't have it all, so didn't touch it all. It all stayed in the exact spot it was placed. There wasn't an unwritten rule, and us kids knew it. It was, don't touch that shit. I mean, we had our moments, and we would see if they would notice, have a cheese curd or two and steal one of Dad's cookies or steal soda. Guess what? We got caught. It never went unnoticed, so we never touched it. Also, eating whatever is made or put in front of you was expected. It was an eat it or starve kind of deal. While Mother worked and Dad was farming, my siblings and I would invent food dishes with whatever we could find in the house. Some were okay, like kind of edible, I guess. Most of them were epic fails. But that didn't mean we could toss it. Hell no. Epic failure or not, we had to eat it. We knew better than to waste food. We didn't get options. My kids are constantly, nah, not eating it. Or just, it's tossed. Or I'll put it in the refrigerator and it'll be there for weeks. It's just ridiculous. Even though I didn't like this meal, I'm just going to put this in here. My mother's famous meal was macaroni and tomato. I didn't like it. And I will never like it. But I ate it. That's just basically like cooked elbow noodles and heated tomato juice. On a good day, you got a piece of bread with some butter on it. I remember my dad getting frustrated with my mother when she didn't cook the noodles just perfect. I didn't know there was such a thing, and I always wondered why it mattered. But it did, and that's that. So my dad, I guess, was a bit picky, but it was over noodles. My children won't eat a goddamn meal if there's like a mushroom in there or an onion. Instead of picking out the mushrooms or whatever they didn't like in the meal, they flat out refuse to eat it altogether. This is a battle almost daily. And if they grew up like me, they would be thankful for anything and just fill their damn pie holes. When I was my son's age, I remember having my favorite radio station on and my blank tape all set up and ready to go. I would sit there and wait for my favorite song to come on. And the DJ would be, get it all ready. And I'd hit that record button at the perfect time. Making a mixtape with no DJ on there at all was the cat's pajamas. I know I'm not the only one that understands and appreciates that struggle. And now, technology has changed so much since then that my kids can just go on a bunch of different platforms and create a playlist in just seconds. It would take me a week or more like a fucking month to get a perfect tape mix. But then I also had that feeling of, I did it. So whatever. When it came to having fun with my siblings, I had to use something that I don't think my kids really have. We had to use our imagination. Our ideas were never thought through. We were just kids. We never thought through shit, though. And our ideas were most definitely dangerous. Which is why we always waited until our parents weren't around or were too busy to notice what we were doing. We used whatever we had laying around and turned it into chaotic harmony. When I was a young girl, I lived in a very old farmhouse. The vent covers for the heater could be taken out of the wall, and they were kind of heavy. At night, my brother and I would take these vents out of the wall in our bedrooms, and we'd set them aside, and we'd play goldfish or whatever card game we wanted, and we would pass the cards to each other through the open vents. Not a bright idea. We would drop cards here and there and everywhere. Grandma knew we were playing cards. She just didn't know where. And she would buy us a new deck every time she went to the casino to get her cigarettes. So if we lost some cards, to the dark hole, we always had spares. My brother and I actually never knew where those cards were going until we had a furnace fire in our house. And they found some little pieces of the playing cards. That's when we decided that it was not a good idea. We had to stop playing cards that way. I'm not sure who came up with the idea, but at one point, our long staircase turned into the best place to mattress surf. Now, if you have never went on a mattress and went surfing, you need to go and do that now, kids. We would, or more like my brother, would stand on a mattress at the top of the staircase, and someone would either give him a little push or he would wiggle it just enough and get that mattress going, and he would just go flying down the stairs. Our landings were never good. Either we fell midway through the surf and our bodies went tumbling down, or we crashed into the wall. We did some damage with every attempt, but that was the whole point, I think. My siblings, cousins, and I would also play cops and robbers when we were on the farm. All we needed was binder twine and a bike. I personally thought it was more fun when you played the role of the cop. I can't speak for the others. The trick to this game was to catch the robber, obviously. But the binder twine is great because if you flung it just the right way, and it would get stuck in the bike's tire, and the robber would just simply fly off and then get put in jail. Jail was also like our term for the cow stall. This game tended to cause a few accidents, but that's what my grandma's walk-in salve was for. Just had to do the walk of shame to the farmhouse and have grandma slap some of that salve on your little boo-boo and get back on that bike and play till your body couldn't take anymore. We fucked around and we found out. Don't get me wrong. Technology is great for the most part. But when I was growing up, we could be busy all day, every day, without power or technology. And it wouldn't faze us. If our son would have grown up like me, he wouldn't have given up on skateboarding as fast as he did. In just 6 seconds into his new and exciting skateboarding adventure, he had what I will call a career-ending injury. My bathroom turned into a makeshift ER room. I shit you not. I swear our child had Band-Aids on top of his Band-Aids. When he limped his very weak body out of our bathroom, I saw the aftermath and just about shit myself. My bathroom was covered in wrappers from all different sizes of Band-Aids, hydrogen peroxide, ointment everywhere, and little tiny sprinkles of blood. If he would have grown up like me, he would have just slapped some of that salve on there and got back to it. But he didn't grow up like me. And that skateboard went into retirement after only 6 seconds. When I was their age, school was mandatory. No matter what was going on, unless obviously like someone died or something, you went. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. You get headaches, stomach aches, tooth pain, back pain, depression, not feeling it, sad, angry. Literally none of that mattered. Nurses didn't call parents because you were having a bad day or your life story is upsetting you that day. If you had a pulse and you didn't need surgery, you got your ass back into the classroom because you were there to learn and that was it. Now, this is all based on my experiences with my children, okay? But maybe I'm not the only one out there and someone maybe can relate because this is actually kind of bullshit to me. Now that I'm a mom, the nurse or counselor will call when the kids are feeling tired, when someone's upset, when someone upset them, when they're not wearing the correct socks, when they're having a bad day. Or my favorite that actually worked with the nurse, they just weren't feeling it. Why is this okay? If I said anything like that to a school counselor, they would sit me down and talk to me and send me back to class, and my parents would not even be contacted. When did the school system turn into an option? If I skipped a class, even a class, or a half a day, or a whole day, I was in trouble. Mind you, I was like a brown noser, so honestly, I didn't do any of that, but some of my friends did, and they got in trouble. With my parents in the school, honestly, I would be in so much trouble. Now, kids can skip class or school all together, and the school will email the parents, and they will also make sure to send an automated phone call to let you know that your child was missing. I finally got a call one day because one of our kids was skipping classes so much. And I asked the lady on the other end, why isn't this child getting into trouble? I'm at home, and this child is supposed to be in school. So what am I supposed to do about this? The response I got was, we feel bad. When I was a kid, even if someone felt bad, I was still held accountable for my actions. Homework when I was a youngster was all paperwork, and cursive was mandatory. A lot of our kids do not know how to do their signature in cursive. Why? If you didn't have your homework done, you failed. That was it. You could try some excuses, but I always it's called homework for a reason. I had to take notes of the notes that I took for studying. And when it comes to our children, I honestly feel like they have a silver spoon shoved right down their goddamn throats. If they don't do any of their homework at all, don't worry. No worries. They can go back and just click on a link and get it done whenever they feel like it. And if you give the teacher a really good excuse, you'll even get full credit for all that missing homework back from 1982. The teachers will even take notes for you and then save them on Google Docs format so the kids don't even have to worry about missing anything while they were in class and, just in case they were playing on their phone or something or sleeping. That's all ridiculous. Where is the accountability? For any type of presentation, getting called up to the chalkboard or a speech, I had to do it. There was no pass. Getting up in front of class was terrifying for me, and I'm sure for mostly everybody. But we all did it. You failed. We failed our assignments if we didn't. So we just pushed through it. It's a part of life. Our children can present their speeches after class or in a different form. Anxiety and depression was something I always dealt with too, and it's still present in my life. During my school days, I couldn't use that as a crutch though. I didn't get to switch classes because I didn't want to be in there or someone upset me or I'm sad. I didn't get to change schools altogether either because I hate people. I can't stand being near people. If someone touched me, it was go to school and get your work done. When I grew up, bullying did happen. It started when you got onto the bus in the morning, and it didn't end until you walked off the bus and got your ass into the house. Once I was home, I didn't see or hear from the bullies. I dreaded going to school, but was reminded that as soon as I got home, I wouldn't see them. Unfortunately, now the bullying has stepped up a lot. Our kids can come home and log into something and get bullied by all kinds of people in all kinds of ways. Our kids these days are dying by suicide over this shit. It breaks my heart. I know how hard it was for me growing up, being bullied. I can't imagine how bad it is now with all the things that are online. Now, the thing that bothers me the most about the whole school situation is graduating. When I grew up, I had to earn my grades. And I know y'all did too. We had to pass our tests. We had to study like hell, do our homework, do the subjects we didn't want to do, and show up. I had to have class participation, good attendance, and most of all, I actually had to fucking try. The school system has changed so much since I grew up. It truly it blows my mind. You can have a child that has a 0% chance of graduating. And then you sit there and wonder, like, where did I go wrong with this kid? And then a couple days later, your phone will ring and the person on the other end that previously told you that your child wasn't graduating, they now have good news. I'm not sure how it all worked out, but surprise! Not only is your child graduating, but they're graduating early. This is why I say the silver spoon was placed in their mouth. I wish this was a joke. I really do. However, this happened to more than one of our children. As thankful as I am that they have got a diploma, I find myself extremely frustrated that they didn't have to work for it. They didn't want it bad enough to try harder. It was handed to them on a silver platter. Would you believe me if I said these kids are still under our roof, and their daily activities include sleeping a lot, watching TV, eating whenever and whatever, and then going back to sleep. I had to grow up when I graduated, and now I find myself worried about all that mom shaming I'll get if I start kicking the goddamn kids out and they're old enough to do it. They are literally adults. This world as we know it today got soft. I catch myself saying, I'm not saying this to upset you, or using soft tones and overthinking the next words I'm going to say very carefully. Why? Why am I walking on eggshells? All of my childhood built me. Did I love it all? Hell no. But as I'm approaching my 40s, I'm seeing life through a completely different lens. I want my kids to see failure as a building block, a reason to keep trying, a reason to not give up after just 6 seconds. So yeah, I am truly sorry, Colton, that you didn't grow up like me. I may not have had the name brand clothes, the cool new toy, or get to go on vacation every year. But I did have enough imagination to not give a shit if the power went out. I grew up learning to use what we had. And if you don't expect much, you can actually find even the littlest of things to be amazing. So, honey, I really wish you did grow up like me. And that is all for this episode. Thank you so much, seriously, so much for tuning in and showing me all of your love and support. If you haven't already, check out my page on Facebook and give her a like. You need to do me a favor. Go out there and embrace the weird and make normal feel boring. Bye.